Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney. Today's video is the first book haul of 2023. So what's up? How are you? I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit. So we have quite a few books to go through. The Barnes & Noble 50% off hardcover sale got me good. It got me. I was unable to participate last year, so I jumped on it this year. I was very excited. We went to two different Barnes & Nobles. The first one was relatively small and their fantasy and sci-fi sections were literally like one shelf. It was very upsetting, but I did get some good fiction books at that one. And then the second Barnes & Noble we went to, I'm excited to talk about. There are also some gifts mixed in through the stack from friends, patrons, and from myself. So without further ado, let's jump right in. I think I'll start with those books that I bought at Barnes & Noble and then transition into gifts and personal purchases. So the first book that I got at Barnes & Noble, I didn't know anything about it. The cover just grabbed my attention and it is The Hollow Kind by Andy Davidson. The day after I bought this, I saw Jesse's vlog from Bow Ties and Books, and in that vlog they were saying that it's the scariest book they've ever read, that they actually had to put it down and walk away for a bit. I don't know what I'm in for, but if I base it off of Jesse's vlog, then I'm in for a spooky treat. It's described as like a southern gothic cosmic horror. What does that mean? Don't know. But it's in regards to legacies and like dark family histories. And I think it's set in like a wood. There is a little map on the inside of the cover. And I don't know, but I'm super excited to get into it. I just saw the word vampire in a random page, so that's exciting. I am looking forward to being quite spooked. The next book I got is Women Eating by Claire Coda. I've seen this book so many times around different bookstores that I visit, and seeing it on the 50% off, I mean, I couldn't come up with a reason why I shouldn't buy it, so I snagged it. I've seen this book on a few people's like best of 2022 lists, which makes me really excited. Fundamentally, I believe it's about this woman who is a vampire and she's developing as like a person as well as an artist, but she's like having to obviously battle with these two different sides of her, the demon, you know, vampire side, as well as the artist human-esque side. I believe she just wants to find a place in the world, but her relationship with food is weird, obviously, because she can't eat any of the normal human food. So she's trying to navigate all of this while becoming an artist. So I think that it sounds really interesting. I love a good vampire story, and this sounds like a different twist. So I'm excited to get into it. Now this one, since I've bought it, I've heard some negative things. I've seen it on a worst book of 2022 list, which I'm not stoked about, but honestly, I'm still kind of excited about it. It is Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. It's a werewolf novel. I love werewolves. The werewolves are debatably my favorite like supernatural being, creature, monster, right next to vampires, but I really have an affinity towards werewolves for whatever reason. And again, 50% off, like this was the time to purchase this book. It's about our main character, Rory, who is moving back to our hometown because her sister's pregnant, and in the midst of moving back, she gets attacked, I'm guessing by a werewolf, because after she wakes up, she starts like going through these transformations. You know, the moon is calling to her and all of these things. So it sounds like kind of like a classic werewolf story, right? But I believe this was in the running for Best Mystery Thriller or Best Horror of 2022 on the Goodreads Choice Awards. Regardless, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna give it a shot. All right, the next one I got is Seven Empty Houses by Samantha Schweblin. I was very excited to see a book by this author on the shelves for this sale. I read Fever Dream by the same author, I think last year, and it was really crazy. I had a good time with it. It sounds just as bizarre as Fever Dream, if not more. It's a collection of short stories, and it says, with the twists and turns of each story, it will unnerve and surprise and dig under your skin, revealing surreal truths about our sense of home, belonging, and the fragility of our connections with others. And just remembering how Fever Dream made me feel while I was reading it, I'm very excited to see if I can get those same feelings with the short stories in this collection. I feel like it's bound to be at least a very interesting read. The next one is The River of Silver by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the next installment of the Daevabad trilogy. Like, in that world at least, it's like tales from the Daevabad trilogy, you know? So I don't know exactly who or what it is about. I don't know anything anything about like what it contains because I haven't yet finished the trilogy. It is high up on my list for the beginning of this year because I'm doing a read along of it with my patrons, and I'm excited to have it. Now I have it for when I finish the trilogy. The next one I got was We Spread by Ian Reid. Very excited to have this one. I went into the second Barnes & Noble hoping that I could find this, and this has a really, really funny story because you know how you walk into a Barnes & Noble and the like new and popular releases are like normally in the front shelves, you know? I walk over there and there's just people swarming everywhere. It's chaos incarnate. But I just like calmly, I'm just like moving through. I'm having a good time. You know, I'm book shopping. I'm living my best life. I see We Spread and it's the last one. I snatch it. And then literally 5 seconds later, I hear a girl behind me whisper to her friend and say, she just grabbed the last one. And then I pause and then I hear her friend say back to her, take it out of her hand. And I obviously pretended like I didn't hear. I didn't know if it was about me for sure, but like it felt like it was directed at me. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious, but I just calmly, you know, kept it close to my chest and kept looking. But I did snatch it, and it has been on quite a few people's favorite lists of this past year. In this story, we're following our main character, Penny, who is an artist, and she's lived in her same apartment for decades. She had this longtime partner that ends up passing away, and when that happens, things that her partner had kind of set up for Penny started to be put into place, where Penny was now being moved to a long-term care facility. And there she starts to get this like growing sense of unrest and distrust, and it's kind of following this idea of like, is she succumbing to the effects of aging and just like losing her memory, or is she kind of being part of a different kind of disturbing narrative? And I'm really excited to get into it. I've heard great things, and obviously people were fighting for it in the bookstore, so I got it. The next book I got is Little Rabbit by Alyssa Songcerade, and again, this was a cover buy. I know nothing about it. I haven't seen it anywhere, but I love the cover and I loved the title, Little Rabbit. Like, a rabbit is potentially my next tattoo. So I saw it. It was the only one sitting there. I snatched it. The quote on the top is what solidified my purchase. All it says is a darkly sensuous tale of awakening that will quietly engulf you in flames. And I was like, all right, done, sold. It is a coming of age story about lust, punishment, artistic drive, and the desires that defy the hard-won boundaries of self. Honestly, it just sounds like it'll be a very introspective kind of, I don't know, thoughtful read, dare I say? And from what I'm gathering is it's going to be very steamy. So I will get back to you on this because I'm really excited about it. The next one I bought, I justified because it was half off. I don't know why, but I haven't been very excited for this book. But I've said that before about this author's past titles, and I have always ended up really liking it. So I bought it because it was half off, and it's Carey Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've heard mixed things about it. I've seen it on some best lists, I've seen it on some worst lists, and we'll see what I think. I've really loved everything that I've read by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've just heard that it has a lot of tennis talk, like point by point tennis talk. And yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how I feel about it. I did pick it up, so here it is. All right, The Steal of the Century. I didn't know if box sets counted in the hardcover 50% off sale, and I brought it up to the register with the mentality that even if it's not half off, I'm just gonna buy them because I do actually plan on trying to read this series this year. And I found out that if the box set were hardcover books, it did count in the half off. So these, I'm telling you, the amount of books that I got at this Barnes & Noble, including this box set, like, it is a steal. I still can't believe that I got this box set for half off because these aren't cheap. And it is the box set of the The Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. Look at how stunning. Wow. What a time to be alive, truly. This was just sitting there kind of behind two people, and I got one of their attention. I was like, this isn't your box set, is it? He goes, oh no. And I was like, okay, good, because I'm taking it. I was like, I didn't want to steal it from you, but I'm taking it. I'm really excited about it. They're beautiful. They're absolutely stunning. I do have The Way of Kings in paperback, but I have none of the other ones. So truly, this was a phenomenal purchase, and I'm so excited to further my Brandon Sanderson collection and get more into his worlds because I'm really loving being in them. That is all of the books that I got from Barnes & Noble. It was a pretty decent haul, if I say so myself. Now I'll be going to just like personal purchases, gifts, so on and so forth. Two in particular that I purchased were because I was potentially going to be reading them for a video for the Goodreads Choice Awards, but it was a busy year. I didn't really have time with the vacation I was going on and getting married, all of the things. things, but I am still interested in reading them. The first one is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, and I believe that this one won for sci-fi. I feel like I've heard this book in comparison to How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, in a sense that they're both written really beautifully. They cover some pretty heavy topics in such a stunning way. This one in particular is about art, time, love, and plague that takes over the reader from Vancouver Island in 1912 to a dark colony on the moon nearly 500 years later, unfurling a story of humanity across centuries and space. So it's kind of similar in the sense that it's dealing with some sort of plague. This is the same author that wrote Station 11, which is another, I believe, pandemic story. I love this cover. It's absolutely stunning. Very excited to read it. I think it's going to be a good one for me. Oh, and Caleb read this because he was reading some of the sci-fi choices this year and he liked it, but he said that he thinks that I would like it more than him, and I'm going to count that as a I will probably love it. The other sci-fi choice that I bought is Sleepwalk by Dan Shayan. This one just sounded really crazy, really cool. Caleb also really wanted to read it, so I didn't think it was a bad purchase at all. This one says that it is about a propulsive, darkly comic novel about a shaggy, tender-hearted mercenary running from his past and the nefarious people he works for, an odyssey across America. His name's Will Bear, and he has so many aliases that he starts calling himself the Barely Blur. And that, in addition to the fact that it talks about like LSD microdosing and assassinations and everything, it just sounds absolutely bizarre and something that I could potentially really enjoy. So I bought it. The next one is actually kind of funny. So I have 2 copies of The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout, but I actually really don't, because one of them, the first one that I bought, you'll see that on the inside here, in the upper corner, it says A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. But the cover is A War of Two Queens. This book is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire with the wrong cover. The wrong cover. So I obviously got a refund for it, but then Amazon was like, just keep it, we don't want it back. And I was like, well, I don't want it. What am I supposed to do with it? I thought it was absolutely hilarious, but I did get the correct edition. I bought this again because of the Goodreads Choice Awards. I was gonna potentially read it. I like these characters for the most part. I don't know, this is a very like situational vibe type read for me. When the mood hits for a fantasy romance, I have really enjoyed these books. Granted, I've really only liked Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. From Blood and Ash was okay. Crown of Gilded Bones, I really didn't like that much. Why am I continuing? I don't know, because maybe it'll be better. We'll see how it goes. I just wanted to kind of have it on hand in case the mood ever hit for me to, you know, get back in this world. The next one I got is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Madana. This was the Goodreads Choice Award in fantasy. I had never heard about it until I saw it on the list, and then I've heard so many good things about it. It's actually my buddy read pick for my book club this month in January, so I'm excited to get into it. It looks short, it looks cute. It's a warm and uplifting novel about an isolated witch whose opportunity to embrace a quirky new family and a new love changes the course of her life. Sounds wholesome. And then the book that is actually the book club pick for my book club in January is The Book Eaters by Sunya Dean. Everyone's really excited about it. It won by a landslide. A cute little quote inside says, "Book Eaters is a darkly sweet pastry of a book about family, betrayal, and the lengths we go for the ones we love. A delicious modern fairy tale." And it's basically about these people who eat books for food, but then a mother gives birth to her son and learns that her son is born with a rare and darker kind of hunger, not for books, but for human minds. Like, what does that mean? I'm not sure. Sounds kind of dark and sinister, but also that quote sounded like really cute and wholesome, so I'm not really sure what I'm gonna be getting, but I'm excited to get into it and chat about it with all of my night crawlers. This next one I got as a gift from one of my patrons, Heather, and I'm nervous about it. I think it sounds really cool, but I've definitely heard some like negative things about it. It's Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. She's the author of The Echo Wife. I haven't read that one either by her, but I don't know, man. It sounds really cool, but not a lot of people have loved it, which makes me nervous. And I believe it's about this girl who moves back to her childhood home where obviously her mother and father lived, but her father was a serial killer, and now she's living in like the home of a serial killer and is around the areas that he would like bury the bodies. And now there's some artist that's living like in the back guest house, and our main character, Vera, is finding all of these notes around the house in her father's handwriting. The guest is saying that it isn't him, but like, who else could it be? Is it actually her father? Don't know. It sounds like a cool setup. It sounds like it could be very interesting. So I'm gonna go into it and, you know, try to have a good time, see what it's all about. Hopefully I like it more than most people do. Another gift that I got was from one of my patrons, Nina, and it is Gleanings by Neil Shusterman. This is the next installment in the like Scythe trilogy world. And I think it's like a little collection collection of like tales or short stories from different people within the world. And Nina mentioned that we learn more about Goddard. I don't even remember if I'm saying his name correctly. Goddard? Goddard? Whatever. But she said that the audiobook was really fun, and we know I love a good audiobook. So very excited to have this. I really, really loved the Scythe trilogy. So very stoked to have the next one in my hand. So every year in my Patreon, we do a Secret Santa gift exchange, and my Secret Santa is the sweetest thing in the whole world, and she got me Can't Spell Treason Without T by Rebecca Thorne. It's a cozy fantasy steeped with love. She got it for me because I loved Legends and Lattes so much. She mentioned in her note, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, she's like, is it a knockoff of Legends and Lattes? Maybe. Is it great? Don't know. I haven't read it, but I thought that you might love it. And I am so excited that she chose this book for me. It wasn't on my wish list, but I had been ranting and raving about Legends and Lattes and how I wanted something so similar. This is literally perfect, and I'm so excited to give it a shot. The synopsis does sound pretty identical to Legends and Lattes, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously with some different things, but the general idea is very similar, and maybe that is exactly what I want, you know? A cozy fantasy with a similar, instead of coffee, now it's tea. I'm into it. I'm very excited to have this on my shelf as an option to read. Oh, there's 3 more that I got from Barnes & Noble. They were underneath a big stack. Another one that I got from Barnes & Noble is Strega by Joanne Leecholm. This cover was really pretty. Never seen it, don't know anything about it, but whenever a story says that it's gothic, I just immediately, it's kind of like an auto buy for me because I love atmosphere in books. I eat it up. And this one says it's a powerfully inventive and atmospheric modern gothic story of 9 young women sent to work at a remote alpine hotel and what happens when one of them goes missing. That, along with this stunning cover and 50% off, no brainer, automatic buy. The next one is Tales from the Cafe, which is another book in the Before Your Coffee Gets Cold series. I actually gave that first book a 3 out of 5. I did like it, and I didn't really know if I would ever, you know, purchase another book in this series, but it was 50% off, and again, I didn't not like the first book, and I think that I would love to see if the author does anything different in these stories than he did with the previous collection, and if they are like, you know, pretty similar or the exact same, I probably won't buy the next one in the series, but I thought that it would be a safe bet to, you know, give this one another shot because the idea is so cool. It's like this cafe that you go into and there's one seat that you can sit in to travel back in time. But there are certain stipulations along this time travel, and you have to leave the past and come back to the present before your coffee gets cold is the idea. And it's really cute. These covers are absolutely adorable. So I'm excited to give it another shot. Fingers crossed. Another one that I got from Barnes & Noble is Latinova by Otesha Moshfegh. This is the same author that wrote My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which I still have to read. I have it, I just have to read it. But I've always been obsessed with this cover. Kind of creepy, very much my vibe. It says, in a village buffeted by natural disasters, a motherless shepherd boy finds himself part of a power struggle that puts the community's faith to a savage test. It talks about the occult and like famine and this village of people dealing with really hard times. And it says, by year's end, the veil between blindness and sight, life and death in the natural world and the spirit world will prove to be very thin indeed. It sounds right up my alley. I have seen it like going around for a while and I just haven't picked it up, but I'm really glad that I did. I'm really glad that I saw it in Barnes & Noble that fateful day. This little group that I'm gonna talk about, I got actually from my sister-in-law for Christmas. I was very excited about it. Off my wish list, she got me Layla by Colleen Hoover. This one in particular I put on my wish list because Jan actually really liked it, and I think she was very surprised that she really liked it. This story is about our main characters Layla and Leeds, and when Leeds meets Layla, he's like convinced that she is who he's gonna spend the rest of his life with, but an unexpected attack puts Layla in the hospital fighting for her life. She recovers, but not completely like emotionally recovers, and then, you know, she's a little bit different than who she was when he first met her. But he takes her away to this bed and breakfast where all this drama and things start to occur. You know, Layla's acting a little bit strange. Leeds finds this other person in the bed and breakfast called Willow, and he wants to help her as well, and it's just this whole thing. I don't know. He realizes he can't help both of them, but if he makes the wrong choice, it could be detrimental for all of them. So it sounds dramatic. It sounds like there's a lot going on. And honestly, Jan liked it. I put it on my list. Now I have it, so we're gonna read it. The other amazing thing that my sister-in-law got for me is the hardcover editions of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J Maas. You know, I have the paperback editions of all of these, but the hardcover editions are just so much prettier. The spines are just so much, you know, more aesthetic. They look nicer. Very sweet. Very excited to put these on my future bookshelves. Caleb also got a couple books for my patrons this year for Christmas. Nina got him Pearl by Josh Mallerman, which is this kind of like, I think it's a horror story that involves some sort of pig. And she got it for him because his favorite short story in How High We Go in the Dark involved, you know, the talking pig. And so when we were talking about that, Nina mentioned this story for Caleb to read, and then she just got it for him. It was very sweet. She's like, you might love it, you might hate it, who knows? And then we all know that Caleb's favorite genre is sci-fi, and Heather got Caleb Robopocalypse is how I always want to say it. Robopocalypse by Daniel Wilson. This is, you know, a story of humans versus robots, you know, AI, all of the things. Heather said she had a great time with it, and it sounds like it's right up Caleb's alley, so he's very excited about it, but he is over there doing some work on the kitchen table with headphones on. He can't hear me, but he's very thankful. Then the last book that I got, I will preface by saying it was the Fairy Loot adult book only subscription box. So if you haven't opened yours and you don't want spoilers, maybe step away. But it is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This book is absolutely adorable. Can we look at this spine? It is like the prettiest colored lavender, and it has the mushrooms and little pine cones and berries on it. I just love it so much. It's so cute. The inside has the illustrations, of course. The hardcover is like a really pretty printed version of it. Looks like it could be, you know, without the dust jacket and be just as stunning. Enter the world of hidden folk and discover the most whimsical, enchanting, and romantic tale you'll read this year. And I just can't get over the spine. I can't, it's adorable. But that, I believe, is all that I have for you today. That was quite a great haul. Very excited about all of them. If you also participated in the Barnes & Noble 50% off sale, I'd love to know what a couple of your maybe horror stories while shopping were, or what book you're most excited about that you got. I would love to know. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another, and happy reading. Bye.